Well, we've known for a while what the schedule in the SEC is going to be, and just at the back of our preview edition, we've got a look actually at all of the games. You got the little helmet schedule. Uh-oh, upside down. And we're going to talk about today. CBS was writing something, and y'all know how I am about these lists. Was talking about who has the toughest path to Atlanta and just the toughest schedule. CBS says that Auburn has the toughest one. I mean, they're playing Alabama every year, just like everybody else in the West, so that's not really that hard to uh, calculate. But the addition of Penn State, um, that's challenging. CBS goes on to say that Vanderbilt has the second toughest strength of schedule. I just wouldn't. I would write the least amount about Vanderbilt as I possibly could. But I mean, they're only playing Hawaii, Elon, Wake, Northern Illinois, whatever. Look, anyway, the Dogs, CBS has got them at 11. Obviously, Georgia playing Oregon, being a game that is a consequential game at the beginning of the season. They deal with the Gators. This is the first time that Georgia will lately that Georgia will not play. Um, they played in every year they play Auburn. So in 17, when Auburn was ranked very high, that was a big deal game. 18, they played LSU. The year after that, they played Texas A&M. And the year after that, they played Alabama. So the sort of powers that be in the West, Georgia's already kind of dealt with them lately. Obviously, they deal with Auburn every single year. So I don't know that Georgia's schedule is any more or less difficult than anyone else's. I mean, Florida's, to me, uh, look, I don't know why you have Vanderbilt number two, and I just because someone works at CBS doesn't know they know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, no offense, but I would have Florida higher. Florida is going to deal with Utah, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, and Florida State. Now, Florida State, maybe they're not so hot. If Kentucky is as good as everybody talks about, that's going to be problematic for the Gators. Look, Florida's going to have a hard time getting to 10 wins. I don't. I'm not saying there's no way that's going to happen, but yada yada yada. I mean, Alabama goes to Texas. That's not a lot of fun. Arkansas deals with Cincinnati early in the season. They also deal with the traditional Western schools, and they also have to deal with South Carolina. And of course the Eastern School, Missouri. Man, Big Ten. Just can you take Missouri off our hands? They add nothing except a pain in the ass when we got to travel out there. And when I say we, I mean me. It's in the middle of earth out there. Kentucky is not playing anybody off that's jumping off the screen to me. I mean, they've got Louisville at the end of the season. Um, LSU, I would say, has a pretty challenging schedule. Again, it's looking kind of a little bit sillier to me by the moment that you would have Vanderbilt number two up because they play Alabama and Ole Miss. I mean, everybody in the West plays Alabama and Ole Miss. There's nobody else of consequence that Vandy plays out of conference. So okay. Anyway, um, LSU in conference is relatively challenging because they got everybody in the West, of course. They have Tennessee and Florida in back to backs. That could be tricky. We'll see. And they also play Florida State, so I think that's a pretty tough schedule myself. UAB is decent. They're not going to beat LSU. I mean, Ed Orgeron's not the coach anymore, right? The Rebels, they go to Tech. Other than that, they don't have much in the way of games that matter. Troy, Central Arkansas, Tech, and Tulsa. State has got Memphis and Arizona. They could lose both those games. I don't think they will. I think they go to Arizona. Um, and then they're going to play East Tennessee near the close of the season. From Mizzou, you know what? I'm not talking about Missouri. South Carolina, Georgia State, Charlotte, South Carolina State, Clemson. That's tricky. I mean, they're going to play Clemson and Georgia, who both most people consider top five program. They also have Texas A&M, who is definitely a hot team. People are talking about. Where is South Carolina ranked on here? Yeah, number 10. I just. All right, hey, listen, if you're going to get Dogstruction, now is an awesome time. This is a commemorative book about Georgia's national championship that they won in 2021, and it's 80 pages of the dogs. Y'all have seen this over time. Now's a great time to get it, okay? Because if you get it right now, you get our season preview with it. It comes for free with it. So when you buy Dogstruction, you get our preseason magazine for free. This is not like all these other preseason magazines. This is about the dogs and just the dogs. This is about from people that know what they're talking about, us. Okay. These are our images. These are our stories. These are our breakdowns. You're not going to read these anywhere else. I can attest to that. So if you want to read about East Tennessee State, or who does Texas A&M play week 1? Sam Houston State or App State? This is not the magazine for you. You go take your happy tail down to Piggly Wiggly and get an Athlon or get a Lindy's. They're good publications. They're just not this. So this is it. You get Dogstruction. You buy it today. You get the magazine for free. Let's keep going. Tennessee has a relatively challenging schedule. Where do they have the Vols? Higher up. That makes more sense. So Tennessee's got to deal with Georgia, Alabama. We know that every single year they got to deal with those two. They also have LSU. So obviously Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, Pitt. Nevertheless, Kentucky. Uh, I would say probably Tennessee has the toughest schedule, just off the cuff, because Penn State sucks compared to some of these teams on the schedule. I mean, Tennessee has got to deal with Georgia and Alabama. They're clearly better than Penn State. My guess is at the end of the day, LSU might be better than Penn State. I don't know about the Gators, but Pittsburgh should be a pretty solid team. Texas A&M, hey, listen, they got a challenging schedule for sure. And Texas A&M, I'm dumbfounded why Vanderbilt is so high on this list. I really am. I mean, Hawaii, Elon, Wake Forest, Northern Illinois, at Alabama, and Mississippi. Um, I mean, just let me just get into the weeds for a second here. So Tennessee plays both Georgia and Alabama, meaning the only other game that they don't swap over in the West. Vanderbilt's playing Ole Miss versus Tennessee playing LSU. Well, LSU and Ole Miss are, let's just say they're about the same. You're telling me the other games that Tennessee's playing, specifically Pittsburgh, I mean, like Wake Forest didn't beat Pittsburgh out this past year to win that division. I'm not going to get stuck on this, but I don't, I don't really buy that at all. But okay. And we also have A&M. A&M Miami is going to tell us a lot about both of those programs. And Texas A&M is hosting Miami. And I totally think Miami can win that game. Am I stupid? Like, am I the only dumb person here? Texas A&M has a challenging schedule. This is why I do not subscribe to them being a top 10 team this coming season. Here are their possible losses, not probable. Miami, Arkansas, Alabama. I don't think they can beat South Carolina. I don't think they would lose to South Carolina, but it's on the road. I'm not giving them that lot. They definitely can lose to Mississippi. They can lose to the Gators. They can lose at Auburn, and they can lose to LSU. I don't think they lose 7 games, but they're going to eat a few losses for sure. They're not at the level right now, depth wise, to get where they got to go. Now, if they get to Alabama undefeated, if they're sitting there at 5-0, first of all, CBS is having a panic attack because they can't wait to get that on the air. Secondly, they're probably going to lose that game, and then they got a week off before they go to Carolina. Look, uh, people are not going to take South Carolina seriously because at that point they will probably have 2 or 3 losses. They got to deal with Georgia State, Arkansas on the road. They host Georgia, which will be a challenge for the Dogs. Charlotte, South Carolina State, and then at Kentucky. My guess is that Carolina will be 3-3, week off before Texas A&M. That is the week of the 22nd. Th- Texas A&M needs to watch it in that game because South Carolina has proven at home under Shane Beamer that they will fight you. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but that they will fight you. I'm not sure South Carolina has a terrible season this year. We will see. They'll beat Georgia State, Charlotte, South Carolina State. These are certain wins. I'm going to give them a certain win against Vanderbilt. I'll probably regret this. Definitely a certain win against Vanderbilt. That means they're going to need to scratch out wins somewhere along the way against Arkansas, the Dogs, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. There are winnable games in there for South Carolina. Georgia's schedule has been tougher through the years, y'all. We know that. Um, the Oregon game at South Carolina, Auburn, because you have to take them seriously. The Gators, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Kentucky all in a row. That's going to be a challenging run right there. That 4 game stretch with 2 of them on, with 1 of them in Sanford. That's a challenging run for Georgia for sure.